We were focused on solving problems which are larger than the problems that are smaller. So when you solve larger problems, you get larger benefits for the company. So we started a factory in England. We also bought factories in Turkey in 2011. We've just recently got listed. We raised about 868 crores of growth capital. That the entrepreneurs are the biggest pain point for an organization after a certain point.
Okay, big statement.
Why do you think most small companies don't become big? Because most companies are made by people, not by the entrepreneur. Entrepreneur is very important in the first 1 or 2 years of the company.
Welcome to KDSushma channel, and thank you for giving the opportunity to connect with you. So we want to learn or know more about the quality power.
So Quality Power was started by my father in 2001. He's an electrical engineer. I'm a second generation entrepreneur. We grew from here. It's an industrial town from Sangli. One of the reasons why we grew is because we were focused on solving problems which are larger than the problems that are smaller. So when you solve larger problems, you get larger benefits for the company. So we took on problems which have bigger outcomes. So even in electrical equipments, where most people focus on small transformers, we focus on large 400 kV and 765 kV equipments, which means that a cost of a shutdown of those kind of equipments is far more serious, which means you need far more reliable vendors, and the customer is ready to pay a premium for a brand. So we grew in from that story, and we always knew that the brand is what delivers profit. It is the brand and brand advantage is what delivers a difference between, say, a Bisleri and a normal water, right? And the same thing, Evian charges you another 20 times more than a normal water is because it's a French brand. So brand is an investment for us. And some of the stuff that we have done to improve our brand is technology. We do spend a lot of money on technology. We continuously monitor ourselves on how we are placed on technology. We also were one of the first people in India to start a factory in England back in 2010. We're a very small company. At that time, maybe our revenue was about 20 crores. When we decided, no, we have to be in England because you can be small, but your dreams cannot be. So we started a factory in England. We also bought factories in Turkey in 2011. And then after that, we kept on buying companies, creating a larger company. We've been buying almost in the last 4-5 years, one company a year. And we are still headquartered out of Sangli. We've just recently got listed. We raised about 868 crores of growth capital. So we are trading today at about 3,700 odd crores.
It's really great actually. Congratulations for being listed in IPO actually.
Yeah.
So regarding quality power, like you have mentioned a lot many things. So your global expansion and the thought process behind that, and where you are now serving your customers.
So when I came into the business in around 2004, India was not a very big open market. The technology was not a very big power play here. Brand was not paid for. So you were always supposed to be an L1. So when you are playing a L1 market, there is less advantage for you to keep on upgrading technology, to keep on upgrading brand, to hire good people, to retain good people, because it's selling on cost. So we decided to explore newer markets. And the easiest markets were typically Middle East. That is what most entrepreneurs feel, because Dubai is the cheapest flight to fly. So then you realize that Dubai doesn't buy from India.
Okay.
See, people who have money buy brands.
That's true.
Right? We don't have so much of Tata and Mahindra or Chinese cars in Dubai. As much there's the Rolls Royce and JLRs. Right? So that is when you realize that to sell on those markets, it is just not technology, it's also brand. So when we started our factory in England, the first markets which opened up was Middle East.
Okay.
It's very surprising to say, but Middle East likes branded and Western European products. And slowly, as we kept on growing, we understood that technology cannot be started from scratch, because there is something called product lifecycle management, which means that there is a product and there's a life cycle to it. Say Nokia 3310 had a life cycle of say 5 years. You go 3 versions of it, and then you'll have to kill it and start a new product by itself. And the new product would be a touchscreen, which is a totally new version of it. That is why most companies across the globe do a M&A on a regular basis, not because they're trying to capture new market share or new markets or new customers. It's new products. So eventually, one of the biggest costs when a company goes into a market is cost of customer acquisition. And that's the most expensive investment a company makes other than its own factory. So let's assume that if I want to sell, say, stent to a person, even if I give it free, he's not going to put it in his heart. For him to put the stent in his heart, he needs to trust me. And the trust is not built in a day, or like Rome was not built in a day. So that trust from a customer takes years of performance, takes a lot of deliverables, and they also, what we say, would mean that they need to see a size of you, that you don't disappear tomorrow. So that is when, after a certain point in all the companies, we found that buying companies is good because of technology, but also the technology has a life cycle, which means you cannot stop after buying one.
That's true.
If you see, I'll give you a good example. Say Facebook. Facebook was the initial inheritor of social media after Orkut. And Facebook survived. Why? Because when Facebook was good, they went for Instagram, right? They went for WhatsApp. People didn't realize, why did they buy WhatsApp for $19 billion those days? It was free. They bought Instagram. And today, I think WhatsApp and Instagram are worth far higher than Facebook. And why was Facebook able to do that? Because they went public.
Yeah.
So every businessman in his growth pattern has to share the rewards. The more he shares the rewards, the larger the company becomes.
Okay.
So, and also the company becomes more stable, because now it's not handled by one person, it's handled by multiple people. Your data is out in the market, you are publicly visible, which also improves a huge amount of trust onto your customers, suppliers, and stakeholders.
That's a process.
It is a process, but every company has to go through the process. Most of the times I have seen that the entrepreneurs are the biggest pain point for an organization after a certain point.
Okay. Big statement.
Yeah, because if you see entrepreneur, they do not want to expand after a certain point. You would see millions of great entrepreneurs, but they want to only make it in their town or their city or their industrial area. They would not be even comfortable shifting the state.
Because the comfort zone is so bigger.
They do not want to take a larger risk. So today when India is opening up, where we are saying that we need to compete China, how would you compete China? You're going to compete China not only on technology, also cost. And cost comes by economies of scale in most businesses.
That's true.
So if you want to create a very, very large scale capacity, you need to borrow a huge amount of money. Or you raise equity. Both of which the entrepreneur says, why should I? I have made my money. Let my business remain small under my control. So what happens with this kind of empires, logically throughout the world? It gets invaded.
Right.
If you read history, even the greatest of the empires got invaded because the king decided not to expand.
The main part of it.
Yeah, because if you don't expand, it is not a strategy. The strategy always is to ensure your country's boundary is so far away from your heart that even if the fight is happening, it's happening at a different part of the world. If you see that America as a superpower, they're fighting in Middle East.
Right.
No war goes towards America. Same way, when you keep expanding as a company, your company becomes strong in the core because you created a moat around the company, and that is what protects the company over a long term.
Right.
So let's assume, say, a lot of these entrepreneurs, when we raise cash, people feel, what is use of the cash? The cash is used to deploy things which my competition cannot.
Right.
So let's assume I can spend today, say, 200 crores into capex, whereas my competitor may be thinking, should I take a 5 crore bank loan to expand?
That's the like difference of opinion and thinking.
Today, as subject to say a lot of board approvals for a listed company, but if I want to take a risk on buying a company, I don't have to think what happens if something goes wrong, right? My house doesn't get sold.
Right.
You can take the risk if you feel reasonably sure that you can turn it around, which means my business, there's a chance of it become 20 times bigger because I'm able to take the risk, because I divided the risk into multiple shareholders.
But still, in this process, the people are thinking the vice versa also.
It's freedom is never guaranteed in any company. Okay, so you are a private limited company or a partnership company, all of it you feel, okay, I am the boss, I have no boss. The day you raise 1 rupee from the bank, the boss changes because the boss decides to write every piece of paper where everything of your thing is mortgaged, right? Second, why do you think most small companies don't become big? Because most companies are made by people, not by the entrepreneur. Entrepreneur is very important in the first 1 or 2 years of the company.
The startup phase of the company.
Maybe even the start, less than the startup, to form an idea and get 3 people excited to join me. But after that, it is a people who take you, right? Now, people have their own inherent needs. Their inherent needs are not necessarily only money. It's also power, position, knowledge, and money. And if your organization cannot deliver this, you would lose good people. And if you lose good people, there's no way you're going to go big. And a person who's worked with you for ages, how does he share the reward? So if there are shares of your company with your own employee, then they are, forget only more loyal. They are equally, equally motivated for the organization's growth.
Yes. They have the equal responsibility also. That yes, organization should grow, then I will also grow with that.
Correct. So how do you do that? So in the new age software companies, they start ESOPs, right? But there's ESOPs also in manufacturing companies. So shares then become a tradable commodity to get good people. Shares become a tradable commodity to make the company much larger.
Right.
And then an entrepreneur is just a guiding spirit on the values of the organization. And it is the hundreds of the new people who come in with the existing guys who are there to build the organization.
Right.
So today, if you see L&T, I don't know who started L&T. I think it was 2 Danish guys. But L&T is now, who's the promoter of L&T?
That is not like the other brands.
Let's assume the L&T promoters family own 2% of the company. I'm just putting a number. That 2% is still 1 million times higher than what it would have happened if they were privately held.
We can say. Maybe like 2% is like thinking very less, but still the value of that 2% is very high.
So whether you own 2% of 50% of a pond or 1% of an ocean is the difference.
That's real difference. So is it a base to go quality power in the listing? You can say?
Yeah, I think at some point we decided that the company has grown more than what an entrepreneur can do himself, or my fear should not stop the company's growth. Okay, there's a fear in an entrepreneur. The fear is normally, am I taking a bet bigger than what I'm worth?
Right.
And now once your fear and all these IPOs, or for that matter, whether it's a small scale or a large scale IPO, in whichever country, they're all very well regulated, which means what? You have a board, you have independent board, you have shareholders, there are questions, there are calls, which means you become more, more focused on what you are trying to do, because you are answerable to multiple people. The chances of you doing something stupid is slightly lower because now you are answerable. There is more discipline. Now we are focused quarter on quarter as compared to मेरे से कौन पूछेगा?
वो तो है.
Right. So I'll give you a very good example. Like most Indian companies, I would say close to 80% or more, I think September end is when most of us would file a balance sheet. Right? Why? Because कौन पूछेगा? I'm given the time.
Yes.
Right? Now, when you're listed within 45 days, you have to give the balance sheet, which means the penalties are too high.
Yeah.
which means that the discipline is so fast that the banks love you because they can renew your loans faster, better, cheaper.
Right.
Once you know your numbers, you can set better goals. So a company runs now on discipline.
Right. So that's the base we can say.
For growth, so if you are going in a hyperscale growth, you want discipline not only in your people but also the promoters.
Obvious.
So discipline is what the regulators bring in. All these new procedures, board meetings, audit meetings, all these are nothing but to inculcate discipline. Like today, if I want to say buy a company, earlier, I had to consult my father. इतने का है, इतने में मिल जाएगा,
Okay.
हम ले लेंगे.
Okay.
Now there's a risk review analysis, there's a SWOT, how do we turn it around, when do we have a payback, what is ROC, what is ROI, you present to the board, sometimes the board may say, let's go to AGM, right? Then you have to go through AGM, right? Which means that the decisions which are even could be taken by a company which could go 50-50, like, 50% was, a hunch that I will be able to go through in a private sector. Now is maybe 70% it's successful because you have taken care of the additional 20% of the risk because you have consulted so many people. So I would say listing or going public should be in every company's thought process. When, how is the promoter's call. But that thought process should start from, I would say, from the time they feel that the growth has started, because you should be able to reward the shareholders with growth. Then only they will invest in your shares. The more they invest, your market cap increases. Your market cap increases. That means the amount of money that the company can raise for its own growth becomes higher. So if you say that, okay, my best years are over, now I go to the market, which I'm going to retire next year. So let me do a market IPO. You'll be able to raise some small money, right? Because anybody can raise money. But then after that, your either growth is stagnant or goes down. That is not the right time for a company to go public. The right time to go a company public is when the entrepreneur is in the prime, is able to deliver or foresee that the visible future, he is able to generate more and more and more profits.
So that can give justice to the shareholders also and the growth to the shareholders.
So giving our example, when we went for an IPO last year, our profits PAT was about 55 crores. Okay. This year, in March, our PAT was 101 crores.
So that's the clear picture.
And the markets rewards you.
Okay.
So if I can shift a higher PAT than what I did this year, market will reward me more. So the intention to go IPO is also to share rewards with public. So to give you an example, you are trading at say 10 times, 20 times, 30 times your profit. Most companies. So if you are trading 30, 40 times, every 1 crore you make extra, the market pays you 40 times more.
Yes.
So obviously that is the capital you can raise. Like if you want to put a new factory, instead of a 10 crore factory, you can assume a 100 crore factory. The cost of produce or the volume of scale of 100 crore is always going to be small. And a 100 crore company will generate far higher profit than a 10 crore factory.
Yeah.
And the bigger the profit you deliver, the markets will reward you even higher.
Yes. So they are getting higher actually. So it's the correlation between everything.
So if you have a growth pattern, if you feel your business can deliver growth, I would suggest they should look at public participation. And public does not mean you go into public directly. IPO may not be for every company at some point of time. Some people are, say, about 5 crore, 10 crore, 20 crores in revenues. For them, HNI funding. Some people who are at about 30, 40 crores, they can look at PE funding. These are one step below in discipline. Before they go into the next level. One level discipline is somebody calls you and say, okay, now this is a board meeting. Can you sit together? You get accustomed to it before you go in. So this is something that people need to explore. And when their employees feel that, there's a chance that we also become a shareholder, right? Most of the startups are crying for what? Good people.
Actually.
And there's no better retention tool than having partners in your company.
That's the big, actually, we can say, takeaway we can take.
And as I said, if you want to fight China now, all of us will say, we supply in the American market, the global markets, everything is nice to say. But when you go to a global platform and not a closed platform, what is a closed platform? Closed platform is say a market like India, where you say that we cannot buy stuff from countries in the land border, right? Which means that Chinese cannot sell in India, or say Pakistani material cannot sell in India. What this happens is you artificially inflate the cost because you have reduced the number of competitors, right? But the same thing, if I shift from India to even a smaller market like Sri Lanka, where everybody is available, brand is good, technology is good, but cost is going to come in. When you attempt to be a technology and a brand leader, you should also attempt to be a cost leader.
Right.
And cost will come only by scale.
That's the economy, actually.
And cost cutting is very, very important when you are in a boom market. Because I would say in the last 1 year, the boom is good. I would say in the next 2-3 years, the Indian economy seems to be even in a bigger boom.
Yeah.
Okay. But when you are in a boom market, that is when you forget that your costs cannot go out of control. Because then when a bust comes, a cycle always turns. You don't want to be sitting at a highest cost.
Yes. That should be minimized. And that is every company's, the main point is that only. To minimize the cost and maximize the profit.
Yeah.
So how you are competitive in the market, we can say?
We started off in Africa initially, because one thing about Africa is that there is no supply. Okay, the demand may be small, medium, or high, depends on who's the beholder. But there is no supply of essential goods in most parts of Africa, I would say even till today. Now, when you are an exporter, let's assume, let's take grapes for a reason, right? Now, I don't know which country in Africa grows grapes, but they would like to eat grapes. There is a elite there. Same way, if I want to sell a transformer, there are, say, places like DRC, Congo, or, there is Mozambique, some interior parts of Africa, which still don't have a supply of power or the demand for a transformer. So always it's easier to get into a market, especially for an exporter, where there's a requirement of a certain product. Right? Now, if I want to enter America or Europe or Middle East, the global supply is there. All the brands are there.
They're already well.
So what happens is you are going to be compared. Demand is there, but demand is now very mature and they know how to segregate. Whereas in jiske paas kuch nahi hai, he is not going to bother too much about you. So we started initially with Africa, where we did a lot of stuff in Africa, right from Ghana, Ivory Coast, Mozambique, Algeria, Namibia. I think we went to every country in Africa. Once we learned how businesses work in an export market, and normally when you do the first couple of shipments, that's when you realize the cost of poor quality. Okay, because anything, forget vegetables, or even engineered goods, when it has to be in a ship for 1 month in salt water, what you ship on in Bombay and what they receive may not necessarily be the same, right? So there's a learning curve. So when you make mistakes in smaller markets, it doesn't hurt you in the larger markets.
And that is necessary to learn.
So you normally experiment at a smaller scale. And so we learned the game of exports in Africa. So we still respect the customers. We still have retained almost of the customers. Then we shifted slowly towards Middle East. Then we realized that Middle East is big, but the population is small. And whenever you need to sell in an export market, there are two things you should always focus on. Either there should be oil in the market or there is population. Oil and population are what determines demand.
Okay. So these are the both key factors we can see.
So if you have oil, there is money. If there is population, even with small money, there's a huge demand.
Yes, actually. The demand is there in the market.
So we found that Europe had a huge population. US had a huge population. So we shifted to the Europe and the US markets, and it's also more rewarding markets, say comparatively on the price wise. So To give you an idea, something which sells for say $100 in India, say in Africa it would sell for 105, 110 because that's what they would be able to afford.
Yes.
In Middle East, you would say $101 because it's a global market. It's an open market. Everybody's competitive.
Yeah.
But then when you go into again a similarly closed markets in Europe, where there's restrictions, like what Trump says, non-tariff barrier. There are a lot of non-tariff barriers by putting REACH compliance, by their own regional standards. Let's say in engineering, there is something called IEC codes, right? But if you go to Germany, there is DIN codes.
Yeah.
You go to Russia, there's GOST codes, right? So each country has its own code. So for a international manufacturer to go into Europe and to go to each country with a different standard is very difficult.
Yes.
Whereas those guys come with the same IEC standard and go towards the rest of the world. So Europe has a lot of non-tariff barrier, which means that what sells at $100 in India might attempt at $150, $160. US again is an open market, but the size of US market is, I think, 15, 16 times India. Our market side. So the volume what they buy is so huge that no one single country can sell to US. So what sells for $100 in India may again retail for $170, $180 in the US. Right? So again, there's a difference. So you go to Australia, you're doing 130, 135. So you need to understand that you build a product but price to the market.
That's true. The strategy should be like that. So with this, all the things like what to do in the international business, there are a lot of actually economical challenges also. So as a company, what do you think and how you are coping up with that? Like instability in the market, or there are lot many things happening in the world.
See, we export to over 120 countries. We run factories outside the country. You cannot control the macroeconomics. Okay, you cannot control. Like, you cannot control whether A country is going to go to a war with a B country. Right? So let's assume you are partying in Azerbaijan or holiday and Armenia ke saath jagda ho gaya.
Right.
Right? Or you have a contract with Armenia and they've gone into war with Azerbaijan. This is beyond your control.
Yeah.
What is within your control is A, your product or your offering, your people, your balance sheet, and your strategy. See, the macroeconomics change, but they change very often. Let's assume, say, France and England were the biggest enemies for, I don't know for how long. They changed. Right? America and Vietnam, they had the biggest war. They changed. So macroeconomic positions keep changing. Let's say Sri Lanka was not seen favorable to India 5 years back.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
And we have seen now.
Now we say, okay, we are all friends again. So you don't place your bets in business based on today's scenario in the macroeconomics. So if I want to be, say, closer to the US, right? And I want to have a cost competitive advantage in manufacturing, ideally Mexico is the place to be in. But just because the current US administration is not friends with Mexican administration, does not spoil your plans.
Yeah.
Because the administrations change.
Yeah, it will.
Yeah, but the neighbors don't.
Yes.
So sometimes in your plan you do provision for the macroeconomic, but not everything is in control. So you account for it, but don't worry too much about it. And the world is so huge. Let's assume you are doing, say, exports to, say, Pakistan. And today we are in war with Pakistan. Now, let's assume I was selling, say, a sugar factory to Pakistan. Let's assume India was one of the biggest exporters for, the sugar cogeneration manufacturing. Let's assume you're not able to export, but there's also Uganda and other part of the world.
Right.
There's Kenya, there's Mauritius, there's Brazil.
So there are alternatives also.
There are alternatives, but the question is, are you fully invested in Pakistan? If your strategy was my top 10 customers should be 25% of my sale. So the balance sheet of yours was in control. How much exposure you had to Pakistan was under your control when the things were okay.
Right.
So even if I had to lose Pakistan as a market, I still got Brazil as a market to go to.
Okay. Still.
So you worry on what you have and not what you don't have. Then life is simple.
Okay. So balance of everything should be there. And it should be what is in your control, you should balance that.
You control what you have.
Yeah, actually. But that's a good thought actually. And must say like the growth is happening only with that base of the thoughts what the management is having. So quality power, I must say that the huge future in front of
Thank you.
Yes. So what are your future plans?
We are looking at our own growth. We have a very large capex coming up in the next 3-4 quarters, which will make us one of the largest companies in this part of the world. We are also looking at attractively other few acquisitions both in India and abroad. As I said, what I could, dream about when I was private is possible right now because how the market supporting.
Right.
So if you are able to showcase that you are able to walk the talk, I believe we have a very good future. We are focusing again on technology, focusing again on larger profitable markets. And we believe we can become a global multinational company in the high voltage technology space.
Oh, that's great. And definitely it will happen.
Thank you.
Our service, like blessings are with that. Because if you grow, definitely the public will grow.
We will create opportunities.
Yeah, definitely. So what are your advice to the companies, we can say, those who want to come in for the growth, or anyone who want to start or grow?
To be honest, I cannot talk about startups because I was not a part of a startup.
Yes, I understand.
I can talk about from a small company's perspective when I was the boss of a small company. From a small to mid-size, I believe it's your hard work, right? To take you from your 1 crore in revenue to 10 or 20 crore is nothing but sheer hard work.
Okay.
Once you reach your 20 crore, hard work is important, but strategy is also important. After 20 crore, whatever you have achieved, you'll have to first defend it. Okay? And then you need to grow on top of it. And strategy would be on product, on market, on people, on technology, and growth. And that is when you realize that you need to have a roadmap for your company. How you're going to grow.
Okay.
From 20 to 200, from 200 to 2000. And then you decide in your time span, how long are you allowing that 20 to 200? There are companies which went 20 to 200 in 100 years.
Yes, that's true.
Okay, there are companies which go 20 to 200 in 6 months. So whether are you ready to take that risk? Or how much risk you are ready to take? And if you feel that you achieved something and you want to run with it, please be a part of the public markets. Is very rewarding. But if you feel that, okay, I think I have run my course, please don't destroy the company because you have lost your ambition. Whatever you created is like your child.
Yeah, that's true.
Because a parent cannot afford the fees does not mean he says don't go to the best college in the country.
It has a potential, so you need to increase
I cannot send you to IIT Kharagpur or IIM Ahmedabad. Does not mean you cannot study and go.
Yeah, that's true.
So the business is like a child. And a very smart fellow once told me that companies are not built in decades. It's built over generations.
Really?
Right? So if you think going 20 to 200 in 2 years is possible, I think it is possible. But it is also possible to go from 200 to 20 also in 2 years. So when you are growing, I think you should dig deeper so that your stability is your people and your product. You ensure they are strong, they are well kept, well oiled, and then you can dream about.
Right.
So before you jump into any new horizons or any new expansion, ensure your current crop is strong enough. And always understand that if you are 30, the reward may come to you when you're 50. But it will compensate for everything that you would have wanted at 31, 32, 33.
Okay.
The instant karma is Gen Z.
Right.
Okay, karma has always been there.
Yes.
So if you work hard, money will come or success will come. But to expect that, no, I did a lot of efforts in this country, I didn't get an order. Sometimes you may not get the order today.
Maybe.
So I will give you an example. I went to a utility in the US, okay, on invitation from them about 10 years back.
Okay.
I went to the utility. When I went to the reception, it took me almost 2 days to reach the utility. Because I had to go from Sangli to Bombay, Bombay to Dubai, Dubai to New York, New York to LA, LA to that place, and then drive down. Once I went to the reception, you have to give your ID card. I gave my passport. And in US, they don't call you as a foreigner, they call you alien.
Oh.
So the receptionist said, "Are you alien?" I said, "No, I'm Indian." So she said, "No, but this is a federally owned utility. It's like a government utility.
Okay.
Which means to enter the utility, you need to get a permission from the background checks from the embassy. And it was not possible for me to enter the utility after running 48 hours in a very short notice. But anyway, the engineers who invited me decided, okay, let's go out of this restaurant. I'll meet you outside the office in a restaurant, in a Starbucks.
That will be
because we have called you for solving a problem. And I didn't get the contract. 10 years later, last week, we got the mail from the utility that we like to place an order on you.
Okay.
So I did my job of going there and pitching in and trying to give a solution. They couldn't buy for whatever reason, but it came to me 10 years later. So the trip and the pain I took to go 10 years before is rewarded 10 years later.
Right.
And this is how businesses are. I said, no, every visit you meet your customer, every time your sales guy touches your customer is an investment.
And that will pay off.
Always will pay off.
That will, yes.
Always. But what we say, spend money on marketing, spend money on technology, and have larger plans. That's all I would say. That the plan should not be determined by how much money you have in your pocket.
Right.
The plan should be determined how much you are ready to work hard.
Okay. So it's all about us.
Yes.
Yes, it's really nice conversation actually, and it is like ongoing. It will not stop because the talk you are doing, it is really essential and really like useful for the people also, and I'm learning a lot from that also. So thank you so much, sir, for giving the time and opportunity to connect with you and have the conversation. Thank you so much.